contemplation I had yesterday when I was sitting in the ice plunge based on an old Cherokee story. After that, I'm going to talk a little bit about establishing a mindfulness practice, not just doing it with me once a week, but some things you can do on your own to get this started. And then finally, we're going to look at a mindfulness practice, and this one will entail labeling, the idea of not just being aware when our thought comes in our head, but understanding what kind of thought it is and what we can do to move past it, to process it. So, hope you enjoy the ride. Yesterday, I told the story of the two wolves, one I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but I'm going to bring it up again because I'd like to go a little deeper. When I sit in the ice plunge, I usually only record for about a minute and a half. And I'd really like to spend a little bit more time discussing that. So the story goes, one evening, an old Cherokee told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, "My son, the battle is between two wolves inside of us. One is evil. It is angry, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self-pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith." The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather, "Which wolf wins?" And the old Cherokee simply replied, "The one you feed." And I think on one level, it's an impactful story because it gives us control of who we are. On that surface level, if we control who we feed inside of us and what energies we feed inside of us, we in essence gain some control in order to shape who we become and how we act. And in one way, it would be interesting to look at that as if it is something that happens one time and you feed this good wolf, and then from then on out, you house those joy and compassion and generosity and benevolence and all of those traits. But the way I see the truth of the matter is we really revisit those wolves every day, every morning, every afternoon, every evening before we go to bed. And we can look at it as an overall, that maybe overall we feed the good wolf. Or sadly, sometimes we feed the bad wolf and we're not even aware we're doing it. But I don't think it's something that we can do all the time. And I don't know if I was clear with that. While we may always try to feed the good wolf, we definitely have days that some of those other qualities weigh on us. That battle we have with the ego is a continual thing. Why do we do the things that we do? Do I do good deeds so that I can post on social media that I did good deeds? Do I do good deeds so that people will see that I did good deeds? And while it's true we've done something good, we're still feeding that bad wolf because we need to receive some kind of attribute or celebration that we've done something. And I find myself guilty of that at times. I look at some of the charity I do, and some of the charity I do nobody knows about. I do it quietly. But there's other things I do. My St. Baldrick's work is very public. It's a very, very public thing. And while I really believe in what I'm doing, sometimes I get caught up in totals, in how much have we raised and seeing that number climb. And that really is feeding the bad wolf. That's feeding that ego and pride and those qualities. So I don't think there's an end all be all to this. But I do see, I when I heard this story, what struck me was also the Buddhist concept of karma. And I think I discussed this, I'm not sure, but I think in America, we've kind of really adulterated the view of karma, almost like it's a bank. So if I do six good things, I can expect six good things to come to me. And I think that is completely wrong. My understanding or my interpretation or my embodiment of karma is we put energy in the world. And based on the energy we put in the world, we attract similar energy from the world. So, for instance, if all I do is complain, constantly complain, I always see the glass half empty. I always see everything that can go wrong in every situation. I start attracting those feelings from people. The people who want to be upbeat and positive aren't really going to want to spend time around me because I tend to bring them down. And all of a sudden, my circle is going to start to become very negative, and my circle is going to reinforce that bad wolf. And I might not even know why. And then it becomes self-perpetuating because the more negative people who are around me, the more I feel negative, and the more it just kind of keeps surfacing and rising, and that negativity just festers. And it happens to us in ways we're not even aware, because if you look at the algorithms on so many of the social media feeds we follow, it repays us by what we click on. It repays us by what we comment on, and it shows us more of that and less of other things. I remember when I was teaching the AP seminar class, and I was talking about when you Google something, and the idea of that Google bubble or that search bubble that arises. Our computer, our presence on the internet knows what we've searched for in the past. So when we do a search, it caters our search to things we've tended to look at. And the example that they gave was they had two people in the same room at the same time search the word Israel. And one person was a traveler. He traveled all over the place. That was one of the highlights of his life. And the other person, she was very political. She was very involved in politics of all sorts and always reading news and searching politics. And their searches were shaped to that. Her search came up really demonstrating aspects of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and what's taken place and what's going on. And his search was all about places to see, historic sites, things to view when you travel there. Social media is the same way. What we click on is eventually what it keeps giving us. So if I look at positive and uplifting stories, I'm going to be fed more positive, uplifting stories. If I look at more negative things that frustrate and anger me, I'm going to be fed more negative things that frustrate and anger me. And so it's going to cultivate either that good wolf of hope and love and serenity and calm, or it's going to foster that hatred and that anger and that animosity toward whatever's happening in the world. So, like I said, I really think there is far more depth to that question than just that very simple little story. It's interesting that to take it to that and see really what it can represent for us. So, if I really bring that to a close, it ties into the mindfulness. I think it's very important that we are mindful of which wolf we're feeding all the time. Because I'll be honest, if I'm not careful, it's easier to feed the bad wolf. We live in a society that loves to play on fear and anger because it motivates people. So we're constantly shown things that will divide us, and we're shown our differences, and we're shown everything that feeds the bad wolf, because that's what brings us coming back for more. And we have to make it our purpose to look at how we can feed the good wolf. How can we express love? I look at that in, this will be a little controversial, but I look at that in almost every single world religion. I think when you get to the heart of all of the religions that I've read, and I've done quite a bit of reading because it's something that interests me, their teachings, the core teachings in all cases are love, healing, support, goodness, togetherness. But each one individually also has groups that have taken that and kind of left that side behind and preached, I am, what you, if you don't believe what I believe, you're wrong and you're evil and you're horrible and you're all of those things. I was listening to Rainn Wilson. You may remember Rainn Wilson from The Office playing Dwight. But Rainn Wilson also founded Soul Pancake, which was a wonderful, positive story, upbeat corner of the internet, posting probably most famously Kid President, but quite a few other things. He recently wrote a book called Soul Boom, and he's going to have a new podcast coming out, I believe also called Soul Boom, but I'll clarify that. And he was talking about the Benai faith, which he was raised in, stepped away from, and then came back to. And he was talking about when one of the leaders of the faith was asked about their belief in Satan. And I thought it was really interesting because he said, yes, they believe in Satan, but they don't believe in a demon that sits somewhere far off. They believe in Satan as something inside of us, and in essence, as the bad wolf. And when we allow that to fester, that's when Satan lives. And I thought that was a really interesting comparison, because I think the flip side of that was something that came to me in a retreat, that God also lives in all of us, and God is love. And when we embrace love and caring and compassion for all people, we're allowing God to live through us. So on that, because I talked about being mindful of which one you feed, let's do a little practice on mindfulness. So this comes from a little book I have, Meditation, A Seasonal Guide to Contemplation, Relaxation, and Visualization. And I just wanted to share with you in the beginning a couple pages where it says, a time to practice. Once you've made the decision to begin meditation, you need to take the practical steps to include it as a natural part of your daily life. As with any new activity you learn, it's good to make a practice a regular habit so that you find you can do it when you feel down or discouraged. It is particularly valuable to be able to meditate during the low times as well as when you're feeling inspired and cheerful. If you have a busy schedule, it is often hard to find time for meditation. There are always pressing commitments to fulfill. Keep reminding yourself that you would feel less pressured if you put aside just a short time each day for your meditation. When I hear that one, I think about put it in your schedule book. No differently than you would schedule a meeting or anything else. We make time for the things that are important to us. And in the beginning, you're going to have to go out of your way because this is new and it's not something you'll naturally make time for. Choose a time of day that is suitable for you. A morning person may have no difficulty in fitting in a half an hour before work, whereas night owls can find evening meditation more relaxed and restorative. Either time is fine. I'm a morning person. I know other people who meditate right before they go to bed. Some people right after dinner. But you find that time and stay consistent with that time, because then it becomes a habit, and then it becomes easier to carve it into where your day is. At first, meditate for only a short period of time, maybe 5-10 minutes, and at the end of each session, while your body and mind are still fresh. Meditation should never be a burden. If you push yourself too much at the beginning, you will lose your enthusiasm. If meditation is new to you, many of us can understand that with exercise. When we push ourselves too hard at first, we get sore, and then we don't complete it. We don't keep up with it. Decide on the length of time you want to meditate and stick with it, even if the practice seems to be going well. As you become more experienced, you can increase your time. Don't race to increase your time. If all you can do is 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you're consistent with 5 or 10 minutes a day, you're going to notice changes within a month or two. You're like very quickly, you're going to notice changes in your temper, in your ability to focus, in your ability to work through problems. Regular daily meditation is most effective way to practice. However, if you find that long gaps occur between your meditations, don't be discouraged. Now is a good time to start again. With meditation, you can always make a fresh start. So, having said that, let's take some time to do a quick little meditation. And as I mentioned to you, this one is going to be a labeling meditation. So, if you can find a place where you're comfortable, preferably a quiet location, and you can get on a mat if you're comfortable on a mat. My morning meditations, I do kneeling on a mat. I have a little bench that I can kneel back on, and I just find that going to that consistent place really helps. But wherever you want, if you're on your couch, you can lie down on your bed, whatever's comfortable for you. Get your back up straight. Close your eyes if you're comfortable with your eyes closed. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths into our stomach just to ground into this moment. So breathe in deeply. Notice the in-breath, that little pause in the top. And let your breath come out. Let your body sink into the chair while you do that. Take another deep breath in. Again, notice the whole process, that little pause in the top, and then let your breath out. And as you do that, just relax yourself into this moment. And then take one more deep breath in. And then as you let it out, you're going to hear a bell chime, and just kind of focus on the sound of that bell until it tunes out. And as that bell quiets and you're in this present moment, just choose a spot to focus on your breath. It can be your stomach as it comes out and in as you breathe. If you can feel the air going into your lungs. Or perhaps it's even that airflow out of your nose, right on the bottom of your nose, the top of your lip. But just focus on that area. I'm going to sit for about a minute, just following your breath. Now, if in this time you notice a thought coming in your head, as we've done before, acknowledge the thought like it's a cloud against a clear blue sky. And then just let the thought drift away and come back to that clear blue sky. Now today we're going to add to that, rather than just simply acknowledging the thought. There's another process that works quite well for an awareness of the kinds of things we're thinking about, called labeling. So as you're focused on your breath and you find yourself distracted and thinking about something, first of all, in that moment of realization that you were distracted, that's the moment of mindfulness. That's what meditation's about. Not running away with the distractions, but knowing you're distracted. But now, try to look at what kind of distraction it is. So label that. Maybe when it comes into your head, it's planning or worrying or remembering. Whatever thought comes into your head, with one word, try to label what category that thought is. Are you worrying about tomorrow? Are you planning what you're going to do when this is over? Are you remembering something that happened in the past? Or whatever labels you come up with. We're going to sit quiet. I'm going to really push it this time to about 2 minutes. Just following our breath. And any thoughts that come in your head, try to label them. Just stay with your breath. If any distractions come by, label what they are and then come right back to your breath. The last thing we're going to do is try to stay with our breath and just a slow count. So breathe in, and as you breathe out, say 1. And we're going to do that up till 10. Breathe in, and breathe out to 2. Now on your own up till 10. Now you're going to hear a bell ring 3 times. And after the 3rd ring, just open your eyes when you're ready. Welcome back. One of the other practices that I've incorporated into my morning routine, and I find it works well for me, I write them down, but right now I'm just going to ask you to reflect either on yesterday or today, depending on if you're listening to this at the end of the day or the beginning of the day, and think about 3 things that occurred for which you're grateful. And they can be really, huge things, getting in contact with a friend you haven't talked about or haven't talked to in 5 years. Or they can be really simple things, like coming in from the cold and sitting by a wood stove, or holding a warm cup of coffee or tea in your hands. Whatever it might be, just think about, and if you want to challenge yourself, get a little notebook and you can make it a practice to write these down at a consistent time every day. But I thank you for joining me. I'll see you again on Friday. Friday, we will talk about the audiobook I just finished tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. And we'll also talk about the book that I just finished that I was reading, 100 Things That We've Lost to the Internet. Have a great day, friends. Peace. Take care.